Okay, so in this part, once I've gotten past some of the more basic leg exercises, I like to get into really the ability to lift my feet off the ground and place them on the ground as comfortably as possible, under control. So that's what I'm going to do. First one I start off with, I just turn sideways, is I lift the knee up and then I place the foot on the ground. And I lift the knee up and I place the foot on the ground. And what I'm doing is, as I'm placing my foot on the ground, I'm not stomping my foot. I'm landing relatively with the ball of the foot, placing it on the ground as silently as possible, whatever that is. And then I just start lifting and placing. And what I'm doing here is training myself to quickly transition my center of gravity from one position to the next. As I lift, then I might start stepping in different directions. And what I'm doing is just training myself to pick my foot up and to turn my foot in the direction that I want my body to go. So if I pick my foot up and I want to go this way, I just place my foot there. And as I lift the other foot, it automatically realigns my body. Very similar to the previous exercise, but the idea is to train myself so that as I pick my foot up, wherever I place my feet, depending on the position I feel I need to put my body in, it automatically puts it there. I'm not pivoting or any of that kind of stuff that you see in a lot of martial arts systems. You know, it works in the dojo on a nice flat, smooth floor. Kind of hard to do, especially wearing sneakers out there on asphalt or whatever the case may be. So you don't want to do that stuff. At least in our school, we don't teach that. We don't teach that technique because it's just too risky. The next thing we do is a different series of stepping drills. Now, when we're doing the stepping drills, one of the things I always point out to people is the most important aspect is controlling your equilibrium as you transition from one root point to the next. So I'm gonna start off with what we call the switch foot drill. Why do we call it the switch foot drill? Because that's what you're doing. So I'm gonna place my right foot forward and my left foot back, but I'm gonna kind of be in this L stance that we talk about all the time. Almost like a fencer stance, where I'm standing there fencing, right? Similar to a boxer stance, only the toe is gonna be on the ground and the heel is gonna be up. But I'm not actually balanced on it, it's just lightly touching. And then what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna pick this foot up, place it next to the other one, and switch positions. And all I'm doing is switching my feet. But notice as I'm switching my feet, I'm also rotating my shoulders and hips in alignment. And what that's doing is it's allowing me to get my body out of the way while at the same time control the space I'm in, kind of like the matador in the bullfight. The next one I do, very similar, I'm going to use this line right here, where I'm just shifting my weight. So I'm going to shift forward a little bit, step across the line and shift back. Shift forward, step across the line and shift back. Shift forward, step across the line and shift back. If you want to do this at home, the way I like to do it is just put some painter's tape down on the ground. This is painter's tape, it's very cheap. You can get it at Home Depot or Lowe's. You know, I'm not trying to give them, you know, promotions, I'm just telling you where you can get it. But the reason why I use painter's tape, number one, it's very easy to see. Number two, it's very easy to pull up off the ground. And all I'm doing is just getting that feel in my body of my body quickly shifting forward, stepping across the line. And I'm just training myself that wherever I step, I can also step to a new root point. The next one I do is stepping across the line in a 45-degree angle. So I'm going to place both my feet on one side of the line. I'm going to put all my weight on the rear leg. And then I'm going to push with this leg across the line. As I land, my forward foot's going to land relatively flat. My other foot, I'm kind of exaggerating, is lightly touching, but really there's no weight on it. Back and forth. And what I'm doing is training myself to move back and forth. Then I switch sides and I do the same thing. And I'm only stepping far enough, if you'll notice, to just get my feet across the line. The reason is I'm also training myself to not move more than what is necessary. The next one I do, and I'll show two different versions of it, is stepping across the line. So I look in one direction and I step across the line and I step back. And what I'm trying to do is step only far enough to get my feet across the line. And I'm not trying to step so far that I can put my body out of position. My body is only this thick, standing sideways. I only need to step half that distance to be out of the way, so I don't want to step too far. Then I look in the opposite direction and I do the same thing. Then I like to get into kind of the L stance. and I step across the line like this. And what I'm doing is, as I'm stepping across the line like this, just training myself to just kind of be able to get out of the way as quickly as possible. So if I'm here and I need to just move offline because I'm going to hit, maybe chop or whatever the case may be, I'm under control. I'm not stepping so far that my body's all over the place. The next one I like to do is what I call box stepping in reverse, or kind of like the matador step. So I'm going to put my little magic X on the ground, right? X marks the spot. I'm going to place my forward foot on. It doesn't matter which foot you start with because you got to do it the other way. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the foot up and slightly turn it, just a little bit. Then, as I place the weight on this leg, I'm going to pick the other foot up and readjust back to the original position. Then I pick it up and turn. And 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 I keep doing this, and eventually you start developing this rhythm where you can feel your weight and your equilibrium shifting back and forth. Whereas now, I kind of almost got like this little boxer shuffle going on. But what I'm doing is by moving in this fashion, I'm keeping all of the action in front of me. And I'm putting whoever I'm dealing with now on the outer circumference of the circle where they got to move much faster than me in order to get around me. Now let's say I'm doing this and I got to change directions. All I do is take this foot, bring it around, ole, and I just repeat. And I do the same thing. Eventually you get to the point, almost like you're doing like the salsa or something, where you could change your foot position, no problem. And of course, you know, you want to do this in the privacy of your man cave if you're a dude, because then your wife or your girlfriend's going to want to go dancing. And if you don't feel like going dancing because you want to watch a football game, well, you kind of put yourself on spot. One of the other things I do, similar to that, is I like to move forward and make these little adjustments, again, almost like doing a salsa. But what I'm doing is training myself to quickly reposition my feet. But notice at no time do I ever cross my feet like you see, you know, in some videos of people doing all this crossing feet. The reason is I don't want to create any bad habits in myself. Remember, your brain's kind of objective about this stuff. It really doesn't care. Even if it's stupid, your brain, if you think it's something you want to do, it will fight through the stupidity to make you good at it. So you don't want to, you know, create bad habits. This is, by the way, why bad habits are hard to break, because once you train your brain and you develop those neural pathways, you know, you got to undo all that damage, because now your brain says, well, I've always thought this was stupid, but since you want to do it, I'm going to do it anyway. The other one I do every now and then, and I don't get wrapped around the axle, it's kind of like a box step. You know, when I was teaching the other art, we used to do the box step all the time, but the problem was the way in which it was a lot of times framed by people, it was just too complex. So really all you need is to be able to kind of just get offline out of the way, almost similar to how you were stepping or doing the switch foot drill, right? Not rocket science. So what I do is I put my little kind of corner here, my little 90-degree angle, and I put my heel in the corner, just for discipline. And then when I step, I try without looking as best I can to put the heel of the other foot, and I just go back and forth. And the reason I'm doing that is I'm just training myself to quickly make an adjustment in case I have to step a little further. So those are kind of some of the basic stepping things I do. In the next part of this whole series, I'm going to show you some other stuff I like to do to help develop my legs.